So we'll do the same action on the other side. So slightly less angle, just blending those two sections of the blade. You can even go the opposite way if you wanted to and slice through. It's whatever feels most comfortable for you. So it looks now like we've honed both sides of the blade, got rid of any pen. What I'd try and do now is get a cloth, which I normally keep under the bench, and we'll just wipe that dirty slurry water off the actual cutting edge. Whenever you're wiping slurry or cleaning a knife, be really careful that you're dragging away from the cutting edge. If I slice through that rag, it's just going to cut straight through it and straight into my fingers. So always wipe away from the cutting edge. So just underneath the light we can check to see if we've got rid of any flat spots, any nicks. I can still see that there's a slight bit of burr hanging on there, but we can get that with the next sharpening process. But that looks pretty good now. I've ensured that I've kept those nice flat bevels. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've finished with the sandpaper sharpening now. The next stage is to actually strop the knife. This removes any burr and it puts on a lovely mirror finish. So to go through the stropping, what you need to make yourself is a little strop like this. This is about 12 inches long. This is a piece of ash that I've just cut a little handle into, and that allows me to stick a piece of leather on there with the fluffy side uppermost, and that gives me a lot more leverage, I find, and makes it much more convenient to use as opposed to using a flat strop wrapped around a branch. With the strop like that, I tend to charge the leather with the Tormek paste again, so impregnate that surface of the leather with that fine grit. And then it helps if you either lean it up against your bench, or you can prop it on the sharpening stone that you've just used. And then what we're going to do is lay the knife on there, try and hit that bevel. It's not as critical to be too precise. The leather is a little bit more forgiving than the sandpaper. What we're going to do is we're going to then drag that away from the cutting edge. It's very important that you do that. If we push the knife at all, it's just going to cut the surface of that leather and also take our edge off our knife. So ensuring that we strop away from the cutting edge. And you'll notice how I tend to do this almost in one action. I'm going straight, doing the straight section of the blade, square on, and then gradually tilting it round right through to the belly and then right through to the tip. And you can see that it's already starting to put a real nice shine on that knife. So you can go a little bit faster. At this stage of the game I'm actually pushing quite hard, but as we go through the process I ease off with the pressure. So that's that side done. So we'll change the grasp to the other side of the knife now. So coming quite close to my hand and pushing away from the cutting edge again, right through to that tip. Swap it over, and now I'm almost doing a pass on both sides. So we're trying to wipe off that burr now. We're polishing it back and forth till eventually any burr will just drop off. So as I'm doing this I can see how the leather slightly deforms as I apply the pressure, and what that's doing is it's slightly rounding the cutting edge. Again, straight off the stone you're left with a very, very flat, very hard edge, whereas the leather is a little bit softer, ever so slightly rounds it, which means that it's going to last a lot longer in use. So swapping it, doing a stroke on each side, and then what we'll do, take the strop off and very carefully again just wipe off any residue of that honing paste, just being careful that it doesn't cut through the rag and into our fingers. And then I'll check it out with the light again, making sure that there's no burr hanging on. Sometimes just wipe the thumb off the edge just to make sure that it's not burred, and that looks pretty good. So now that we're happy with that finish that we've got on our bevel, the best method of just checking that you've got it sharp is again just drag your thumb off the cutting edge and just apply a little bit of pressure, and it will just bite into your skin. Never ever run your finger actually down the cutting edge. Everybody seems to like the classic sort of paper test to see if it's sharp, so you can get your bit of paper, hold it at a bit of an angle and then just run it through. See how fine a shaving we can get. Get those nice curly shavings. So we'll just test it on a nice bit of hazel. Feels like it's cutting quite nicely. I'll try a little chest lever grip there. That's pretty good actually. So I'm quite happy that it's cut it nicely, and you just check it out. Yeah, got no nicks or burrs. So I'm quite happy with that. Once you have used your knife on wet wood, the best thing to do is always ensure that you wipe it down, get off any residue, any sap, and just as before, we're going to use a little bit of camellia oil. Because we've been using water on the stone as well, it's not a bad idea when you finish sharpening just to wipe a little bit of camellia oil on there, all over the cutting edge, and then you can quite happily store your knife back in the sheath and know that it's not going to be rusty when you pull it out. Okay, so hopefully, very simple techniques. We've used quite a fine abrasive. If you've got some serious nicks in your knife, you can use a much coarser abrasive. You can even go down to about a 120 if you've got a lot of steel to remove. But hopefully that's given you a few top tips, and give it a test run.